Hello, welcome. My name is Matthew Speiser. I'm joined by Ron Weber, Head of Global SEO and SEM at Teradata. Ron, say hello.
Hey everyone.
So I'll just give it like another 10, 15 seconds just to make sure everyone joins and settles in before we get started. Just so you know, I'm coming to you live from my apartment in Jersey City, New Jersey. The New York City skyline is right outside my window. It's partly cloudy today, and I'm excited to tell you all about how to create SEO content that doesn't suck. So let's dive right in. So today you're going to learn what SEO is, obviously, the importance of SEO for your business, and how I create SEO content that doesn't suck, and also how Ron creates SEO content that doesn't suck. Ron, why don't you tell the audience gathered today a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Matt. Very excited to be here today. I am a 20-year SEO, without giving away my age. I think I just did. But I've been optimizing websites before Google was really Google, and worked at many places. I had my own search agency here in San Diego, and then most notably worked on sites like mint.com, quicken.com. We'll have an example of something from Quicken later in this presentation. I think I'm, really excited to be here. You can't have SEO without content. And so, what Matt and I are going to be talking about today, really, really critical to anything you want to do in SEO. And I think, the great thing about SEO is, even though I've just given away my 20 years experience, what is great about SEO is, someone who is brand new, hopefully a lot of you on the call today, you're only as good as the latest knowledge. And so we are all on equal footing. And what we do is so important for our clients and for our businesses. And so I'll send it back to you, Matt, but again, really excited to be here. Thanks.
Absolutely, and we're so excited to have you. So I'll just go over kind of some of the key takeaways we hope you come away with. That being the business impact of SEO, what SEO can do for your brand in terms of awareness, fostering brand affinity, and of course, lead generation. And then how to apply SEO best practices into the creation of your content. There are a ton of techniques out there, and we hope to provide you with a lot of them. I also want to mention from the jump that there's a lot, like I said, of SEO techniques, and it's impossible in just 1 hour to explain all of them to you. So we are going to, first of all, record this session and share it with all of our registrants, and also share the slide deck with you so that you can go back and reference all of these tips and tricks and techniques as you go about formulating your own SEO strategy. So Ron told you about himself. Let me tell you about myself. I'm the content marketing manager at Knotch. I formerly worked at Fundera, a fintech company that generates 60% of its leads through SEO. I was at Google before that, so kind of got some of the insider knowledge about how the Google algorithm works. And I've successfully ranked dozens of articles in the top 1 through 3 positions on Google, just like Ron. A couple of additional notes. We are encouraging people to ask questions throughout the presentation, and at the end we will take time to answer them, so please keep those questions coming in. And yeah, let's get started. So let's get the basics out of the way. What is SEO? Some of you may know this, some of you might not, but just to clarify, SEO is a series of best practices and protocols around the structure and creation of web pages to increase the likelihood that the web pages will be found by the people looking for the information in major search engines. And when we say major search engines, we mean Google. I mean, I don't know how many of you are using Bing or Ask Jeeves, but Google owns a majority, like most of the market share in the search engine market. So let's understand a little bit more about who our attendees are. So I want to take 10 to 15 seconds. We'll launch a quick poll and just tell us what your role is within your organization. And we'll give it another 5 to 10 seconds. Okay, cool. So let's move right along. So let's see. 40% of you said strategist and 33% of you said writers. So that's really good to know. When you say strategist, I'm assuming your role is content strategy and understanding how to create strategies that generate the highest possible ROI for your content, and you're in the right place for that. SEO is, in my opinion, especially in the B2B SaaS space, but also in B2C, and has applications across a lot of businesses. It is the best way to drive ROI, and I'll show you why in a moment. We have some statistics we want to show you. But yeah, most of the top search results you see in Google are SEO content. They're content created with these best practices that make Google favor them and serve them to users who are looking for information on that topic. As you can see, I showed you an example. We currently rank number 2 for the keyword post-webinar survey questions, which is a little bit, apropos of what we're doing right now, this being a webinar. So why do you want to appear highly in Google search? We threw a couple numbers at you, but Ron has a lot of expertise in this area, so I want to kick it to you.
Yeah, I think the bottom line here is no matter where I've been, and you guys already know, I've been at a lot of places, been around the block for 20 years, but every single place, organic traffic is at least 50% or higher of all of the web visits. And again, every single place. And not only that, it's usually the highest converting channel. The other thing to keep in mind, most of your customers or prospects, they are using a search engine. I believe the stat was 90% of all people are using a search engine no matter what stage of the journey that they're in. So that means if somebody's looking for what you have to offer, you should be there, as well as if someone's trying to leave you. Somebody's looking for an alternative to what you have to offer. It's super important that you think about that entire journey, and search should be there, and you should be there in search. Absolutely.
So ranking highly in Google search, Ron already mentioned it, but brand association increases by 16% for the top ranking result. Purchase consideration increases by 8%. And marketers across a variety of industries, 49% say their best source of leads is SEO. 60% of marketers say that inbound is their highest quality source of leads. So, we call SEO, we call this organic marketing as well. Having people find you organically through Google search has proven to be maybe the most effective way to grow your business through inbound lead generation. So let's show you an example to really drive this point home. So let's say you publish a new blog post. It's called Free Budget Calculator, and you do all the promotion techniques that you're probably already aware of. You're sharing it on social, you're emailing it out to your subscriber list, you're posting in online communities that your target audience likes to frequent. So look, your traffic spikes. It's a novel post, people are seeking it out, it's interesting. Of course, we've all seen what I call spike of hope and then flatline of nope. So spike of hope, it's new, everyone wants to check it out. And then over time, it's not new anymore. The information is boring, it's old, it's not exciting. So traffic starts to decrease. I've seen this time and time again. I've experienced this personally many, many times. So what do? You publish more blog content, right? Need that traffic, need to keep getting it. And you get that spike again because it's new, novel content. But the content doesn't last and it starts to decrease over time. This is the problem that SEO is seeking to solve. Now, before I continue with the example, I want to ask another question to our audience. That is, what importance does your company place on SEO currently? And we'll have a poll and feel free to answer. We'll give it about 10 to 15 seconds, and then I'll continue with the example. In the meantime, I'm going to take a sip of water. All right, cool. So let's move right along. 44% of you say very important. That's great to hear. It seems that the importance or the efficacy of SEO has been proven, just as the importance of content marketing in general has been growing and growing in popularity over the past 5 to 10 years. So it's great that so many organizations are invested in SEO. I mean, what's that? 70% of you said either quite important or very important. That's very reassuring, and you have the right idea. So let's go back to the example. So you saw that all this content being published gets a spike in traffic first, and then it flatlines, right? So now let's say you have a piece of SEO content. You publish the piece of SEO content, and what you'll notice is that traffic doesn't flatline. It stays at a stable rate across time. So going back to my post-webinar survey question example, we didn't get a ton of traffic when that first got posted, but it ranked in Google. So we can rely on it for a steady source of traffic over time, and we don't have to keep publishing more and more content to drive traffic. We can rely on a steady stream of traffic from that piece of content over an extended period of time, which means less work for us, less content that I have to produce, as long as I create one really good piece of SEO content. And we kind of just mentioned this. It's more, SEO content means you don't have to produce as much content. You consistently get traffic. That's what's important. As for that keyword we mentioned, free budget calculator, that is one that Ron has successfully ranked in the #1 position. So Ron, I'll let you talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So I think a couple call outs here on this slide. So one, I haven't worked at Quicken for 3+ years. I was able to achieve a #1 ranking and kept it for about a year. So now we're looking probably about 4 years that they've owned this top slot. So that's one major benefit, right? You get the exponential returns, whether or not someone or your SEO agency is still around, or if your SEO employee is still around. So infinite returns if you can get something to rank. The second thing, when you look at these tools, it says 1,300 searches a month. I know for a fact that's low. So when it comes to tools, definitely use it as a guideline. But typically what you'll find is, the real results will vary. In the case of free budget calculator, it's much more than that, exponential, as a matter of fact.
Absolutely. And just to, that 1,300 searches is low, but let's say you have a conversion rate on that 1,300 searches of 0.1%. That's 13 new customers a month. And that's nothing to sneeze at. That is a real return. And that's just from creating a piece of content. That is not something that you have to constantly work at. That is a piece of content ranking #1 that's working for you. So that really shows what the power of a good piece of SEO content can do. So let's get another poll question before we get into the actual creation of the content process. So how much alignment exists between your content writers and your SEO team? So we'll take another 5-10 seconds and we'll let you guys share your thoughts on this one. All right, there we go. Let's see those results. Quite a bit. That is good to hear. It sounds like, a little and quite a bit. Okay, a little. So that's not good. It's good that there is some collaboration, but at the organizations I've worked at, the SEO team and the content team need to be in lockstep. The SEO team needs to know what the content team is putting out. They need to know how to promote it. They need to know how to build backlinks to it. So hopefully as we go through this, you'll identify opportunities for your SEO team and your content team to work closer together. So, okay, here's what we're all here for, how to create SEO content. We don't want to, keep you waiting any longer. So the first step in creating SEO content is keyword research. This is the process of identifying keywords, highly trafficked keywords that your target audience is looking for. So I always say that there's no point writing about something that no one's interested in. Keyword research lets you know what people are interested in. And there's a couple tools that I like for performing keyword research. We'll go into some other techniques in a minute, but SEMrush and Ahrefs, they're both paid tools, but they're very effective keyword research tools. And I recommend them. So just to explain keyword research, giving a personal example, Knotch is a content intelligence company for those that didn't know, and we write content about how to create content. The people that we market to are content marketers. Maybe some of you on this webinar right now, heads of content, content strategists, and chief marketing officers at enterprise organizations. So I need to find keywords that I know they care about in Google search. So here's an example of how I did keyword research. So we rank #1 for the keyword content hub examples. I did keyword research and understanding my customer personas, I knew that this was a topic that they're interested in because they all manage their own content hubs. Now, it's not an overly competitive keyword. It has 380 searches a month, which I'll be honest, isn't a ton of search volume. However, we are there are a lot of blogs out there writing about content marketing. You have your HubSpots and your Moz's and your Backlinkos and Neil Patel. It's a very competitive space. So for us personally, a company that maybe doesn't have as much cachet as them or as much visibility in the marketplace, targeting these longer tail keywords or these less competitive keywords is a great way for us to kind of build up our authority and our awareness in the space. So ranking #1 for this keyword actually does a lot for our business. It drives, a decent amount of page views every month, and it also helps Google notice us as an authority, which in turn actually helps other content rank because it's something called domain authority, which we will get into. And then another thing I want to make note of with keyword research is that the top ranking page also ranks for a variety of secondary keywords. So when you do keyword research, it's important not just to target a primary keyword like content hub examples, but also secondary keywords that when people type them in, they're looking for that same kind of information. So along with content hub examples, that piece I just mentioned also ranks for the keyword best content hub examples, hub content examples, and like random variations that people might also type in, which brings me to my next point in a minute. I mentioned other ways to find keywords. There's a lot and not all of them are paid. You can literally just type in a keyword and go to the related searches at the bottom of the page, and you'll see a lot of additional keywords. And there are Google tools and there are additional ones, but I also want to let Ron chime in here because he's an experienced keyword researcher himself.
Yeah, so thanks, Matt. I think you have a lot of great ideas here. I would just say, those devices in your pockets and purses, rather than liking pictures all the time, actually use it and call somebody. You'd be surprised what kind of keyword information you can get. Talking to a subject matter expert, talking to a product owner, talking to a customer, talking to a prospect. I think that's well overlooked that in this industry, we're digital marketers, right? We can do everything we need to do behind a computer, but we can be so much more effective when we think outside of the box. I think the other thing too, don't just, when you get a set of results, you can't teach curiosity, but we should be very, very curious as marketers. The best marketers are. And so you get that first, Google trend, and that's great, but then what are you going to compare to? Are you going to look at 1 year, or are you going to look at 5 years, or are you going to look at that keyword through the course of time? And so as you do your research, it should, beget other questions. And so as you start to ask yourself questions, it really will help you with all of your keyword research, no matter what tool you're using.
Absolutely. And also, I just want to piggyback off that first point you made with talking to subject matter experts. I don't know about a lot of you, but I came from a journalism background. And one of the things I really liked to do as a journalist was talk to my connections about, what's going on? Like, what are some things that no one's covering in the news right now? And you can kind of apply that technique to creating content, like ask those subject matter experts, what are things that you think people don't understand about? Where are the knowledge gaps? And you can use that as a quality source of keywords to finding keywords to write about. Now, I said it brings me to the next point. This is really important, searcher intent. So you have the keyword, but you need to understand what that person wants to know when they type in that keyword. So we found that when people type in the keyword content hub, they're actually looking for an example of what a good content hub looks like. And we didn't know that unless we did some research into searcher intent. So one of the easiest ways to do this is just look at what's ranking currently and the information that they provide. And that will give you a lot of insight into what searchers are looking for when they type in that keyword. What is their goal or motivation when they type in that keyword? Understanding that will inform what kind of content you need to create. And it's something you really need to keep in mind because you don't want to basically do the next 5 steps that we're going to provide you without knowing what your searcher intent is. So make sure you do that research. Make sure you understand what the searcher's goal or motivation is when they type in that keyword. And then it's research. So like I said, I'm a journalist. I love to dig into the research, learn what I can learn. I think as content marketers, a lot of us are asked to be authorities on subjects that we might not necessarily be an expert on. For example, at Fundera, that was a company that helped small businesses acquire loans. And I wrote about how to get a small business loan. Now, I've never owned a small business. I've never taken out a small business loan, but I relied on people a lot smarter than me, those subject matter experts that Ron talked about, to provide me with information. I talked to small business owners about the process of getting a loan. I talked to our sales team who has exposure to the people who get business loans. So lean on those people. Of course, also read the top ranking articles because there's usually a wealth of information in there. Don't copy what they say though. I'll get into that in a moment. And then there's also other tools you can use. Help a Reporter Out is a good tool that allows you to put out queries and then people respond to them with their perspectives and insights. And then another thing you can do is collect data. Our organization, a lot of other organizations, are good at compiling data on their industry and kind of like what's going on and trends. And you can use that to find proprietary insights that you can offer that no one else can find. So one more poll question, and then we're going to get into the actual creation of the SEO content. And we're just curious to understand, how much of alignment is there between your content writers and your SEO team? Is there, are they working together? Are they understand what each other's roles are? We want to give you a couple moments to answer that question. I'll give you another 10 to 15 seconds, and I will go for some water. All right, I think we're ready to move on. Let's see the result of that poll. Not sure how much alignment there is. I think there might be a discrepancy here. Actually, I just realized the question is, do your users enjoy the content your company creates? And the slide, I think this is my mistake, mea culpa, how much alignment exists. So let's pivot real quick, doing this on the fly. Do your users enjoy the content you're creating? So not sure. So I would say to that, not to do a shameless plug, Knotch is a tool that can help you understand how users are reacting to your content, what their sentiment is. But I don't want to get into that. There's a lot of top line metrics that you can use to evaluate whether they're enjoying your SEO content. We'll save that for the Q&A section. I think that's really good to circle back to. But let's move forward right now with the actual creation process. Content creation, let's go. So what I want to say first is that your content needs to be of a high quality. So I don't care how many SEO best practices you implement. If you write a crappy blog post, it's not going to matter. No one's going to want to read a crappy blog post. If you've read bad writing, I hate bad writing. It's just like, I want to click off the page right away. So the writing needs to be crisp, clean. My gold rule is say what you need to say in as few words as humanly possible and then get out. I don't want a sentence with like 4 commas in it. I hate it. I don't know about you guys, but that's just my personal opinion. And then ask yourself, is this a piece of content that people would want to share? I think we all share content with our friends and family and our coworkers, and doing that, it kind of forms a perception of us and, what we're interested in. Are you creating a piece of content that if you shared it would reflect well on your taste? Or just more importantly, do you think it's worthwhile to share with others? I think that's something we should ask. So, when I think of quality content, it's well written, it's authentic, it's not regurgitating everything else that's on the internet. Good user experience on the page. I'm talking like appealing images. The structure is good. There's subheadings. It makes it easy to scroll through. A catchy headline that kind of grabs people's attention and makes them want to click through. I think all those things kind of compile quality content. Like I said, don't just regurgitate other top ranking articles. If you did your research, you should have something different to say. Authentic information is the true currency of valuable content. It's all about saying something that no one else is saying it better, offering a counterpoint, offering unique insights that can't be found elsewhere. I'm not going to write a blog post. I'm not going to waste my time writing a blog post, even if I use all these SEO best practices, if I'm just repeating what's already out there. And I think that's something that we should all do because there's enough garbage content on the internet already. I think we should all commit to not contributing, but instead serving as a solution to that problem. So now you have your quality piece of SEO content, you did the keyword research, you found a unique angle, you understand your searcher intent, and you just wrote something that you love, and that's really good. I've been there before. It's a wonderful feeling. Now is the on-page SEO optimization. And I think Ron mentioned this in the beginning. The Google algorithm is constantly changing. SEO best practices are ephemeral, and what might be the flavor of the week this week might not be the flavor of the week next month. Lots of organizations build their SEO strategy on what the Google algorithm is doing right now. That is not something I would recommend. I personally think that the cream rises to the top, and if you create a quality piece of content, it will get the recognition it deserves. Having said that, there are some tried and true SEO best practices that have stood the test of time, and some are fairly obvious that you might already be aware of: organically weaving in primary and secondary keywords that we talked about before with the keyword research part. Longer form content. I know I said brevity is key, but you want to include a lot of information in as brief a way as possible. You want to have a comprehensive explainer of the topic you're talking about based on searcher intent. Time on page is a key indicator of high ranking in Google. In linking, you want to link out to a healthy amount of third-party sources, as well as smartly in-link to other pages within your website where readers can continue their information, their education, and the list goes on. Like I said before, we will share this deck with you, so you can, you don't have to take notes right now. We'll go into a little bit further of what on-page SEO optimization looks like, but there are a lot of best practices, and if you have questions about others, we can do that in the Q&A section. But here's an example.
I was going to just add something there. We used to cram a lot of keywords into a page. That's no longer what we would call focus content. But we used to do 5 or 6 keyword variations at a time, and so to Matt's point, really it's one primary and then maybe at the most 2 additional or secondary keywords. But yeah, back in the day we used to do a whole bunch of it was not uncommon to do 5 or 6 keywords on a page.
Yeah, absolutely. Keyword stuffing. I mean, talk about poorly written content. Keyword stuffing is that in a nutshell. So an example of what an on-page SEO looks like. So as you can see with this example, which is one of our posts, how to create a content marketing team structure, which ranks on the first page of Google. The keyword is in the URL, content marketing team structure. We have a preferred landing page in the first sentence. The keyword's in the headline. We weave in the keyword in the copy, although we don't put it in like 20 times. We just have it in there once. As you go through the article, our subheaders have the keyword in it. Here it is again. Here is a link out to a preferred landing page. Here's a call to action. These are all things, it's not that complicated. It's good in linking. It's using the keyword in a way that's not, too much keyword stuffing. These are, the elements of good on-page SEO. Okay, now moving on. So you've created a great SEO blog post and optimized the on-page experience. Now you need to promote the content. So we talked about content promotion before when we showed you that example of sharing it on socials, sharing it in your newsletter. So you can do that, but you can't spray and pray. You can't just say, like, I'm going to get this out to the biggest audience humanly possible, and I know people will share it and like it, and it will climb in rankings. Your goal should be to share it with the right people in order to generate backlinks. I said that time on page is a key ranking factor. So is backlinks to your website. It might be the most important ranking factor. It is perceived as, by Google, a vote of confidence in your content. So the goal, especially if you're not like a blog that people know to seek out, should be to generate backlinks so that your content can rank. However, not all backlinks are created equal. So let's say that you have a backlink from my blog, which is not very good. I mentioned domain authority earlier. I would say domain authority is a ranking of authoritativeness of a website by Google on a scale of 0 to 100. So for example, the New York Times has a 95 DA. My blog, spiesguys.wordpress.com, has a ranking of 0. So Google doesn't think I know anything about anything, which is fine. I do it for my own kind of satisfaction. But the point is that a backlink from Google, a backlink from the New York Times is much more valuable. And one backlink from the New York Times is more valuable than 5 backlinks from my blog. So when you're going about the link building process or promoting content for the sake of building links, you want to make sure you're targeting the right websites that have a good domain authority and that you know your target audience frequents. So you do that through content promotion, but like I said before, you don't spray and pray. You try to target the right people who might try to link to your website. So still do your email newsletter, still do your social. This creates exposure. One technique that I recommend is paid ads. This will show you at the top of Google search results. It will say ad. It will drive awareness to your website. And as people find your content, the more people find your content, the more likely they are to link to it. There's a ton of techniques, but I also want to kick it to Ron right now, a very experienced content promoter, for his insight.
Yeah, this is more about, and it's a hope that nobody is paying for links at this point. Mm-hmm. And I think everything I see on this list, guest posting, maybe is not as much anymore, but still a good way to get your content out to other people. Maybe not so much for a direct link anymore, but yeah, these are great. This is a great list. I would just say, make sure it's natural. And I know you're going to talk about, natural link building on the next slide, but natural links mean you don't go from 100 links to 100,000 links overnight. It is possible you have a piece of content that goes viral, and that can happen. But, natural linking is, a couple links here and there per month, depending on, who you are and what your site is. It could be much more than that, but yeah, I just say make sure it's natural, and everything you see on this list really is about natural link building.
Yeah, absolutely. You shouldn't make people want to link to people should want to link to your content because they find it valuable. They shouldn't link to your content because you offer them an incentive to do so. Good quality content should be able to stand on its own, and people should recommend it because it's of a high quality. So keep that in mind when building links to your content. Personally, I wouldn't even try, if I didn't have a good piece of content, to say like, hey, can you link to this? Because that's just a burden. I've been reached out by people who say like, hey, can you link to my blog post? And it's, to be honest, not of a high quality. And I don't want to link to that because that reflects poorly on me too. Why would I want to direct people who are kind enough to seek out my content to then go to someone else's poor content? So the whole idea is create content that people will be proud to share with other people and recommend. So yeah, I kind of talked about this before. Don't share it simply to generate traffic. Share it with the right people so that you generate backlinks. And then quality is better than quantity. So like I said about the New York Times example in my blog. Now, just real quick, jumping back to here, this list is pretty long. And I don't want to overwhelm you. So please, if you have any questions about any of these techniques, please, we'll talk about it more in the Q&A section. We're happy to do so. Okay, so step 7, the final step that we'll cover in creating really good SEO content is off-page SEO. Now, this is where I am a little bit out of my depth, but this is, again, something that Ron is an expert on. So please enlighten our attendees.
Okay, sure. So let's say you have followed Matt's steps, everything all the way up until now. Even if you've done everything proper, if you have a site that is not foundationally sound, it's not going to help you rank. And so you can take it all the way up to this step, but once you get into technical SEO, it really is about your site. You see a bunch of factors there that do matter. I would say, be in touch with your Google Search Console. Bing Webmaster Tools has made improvements. I know we joked about Bing earlier, but it does have a decent percentage of market. And they are getting better at giving information. So Be in touch, get to know your Search Console tools. There's a lot of great paid tools out there as well, but if you want to go the free route, Google Search Console and Bing Webmaster will really help you. The one factor here, Google has signaled, if you haven't heard of this yet, in 2021, there's a core vitals algorithm update that's going to happen. It is the very first time Google has signaled to any SEO that they're going to be making a big algorithm update. So what does this involve? It involves everything you see here. It's about page speed. It's about interaction with your website. And so if you're not paying attention to these signals now, it could impact you down the road here. So again, it's the first time they really let us know as a community that they were going to do something and take a giant action. So again, this is the time to get to know Search Console and be in lockstep.
Absolutely. Okay. And then the one chestnut I can provide that's somewhat technical is site structure. So I subscribe, and I think we all should subscribe to the hub and spoke content technique. I actually wrote something on this recently. Hub and spoke, think of it like a pyramid. So you have your main piece of content. Say it's a blog post called How to Create SEO Content. It is a comprehensive piece of high quality content targeting the long tail keyword, how to create SEO content. Now, from that blog post, you have your spoke pages. So the SEO content piece, your hub pages. Your spoke pages are pieces of content that go more in depth on that topic. So your spoke pages might be how to do keyword research, the basics of technical SEO, how to understand searcher intent. Those are all things that you link out to from your hub page, and that link back up to those spoke pages, link back up to your hub page. Now, why do this? It helps with indexability. So when Google crawls your website, they will assign a crawl budget. So they'll only spend a certain amount of time crawling your website. Your website needs to be as easy to crawl as humanly possible to ensure that Google will index all of your pages. Typically, you want every page on your website to be within 3 to 4 clicks of your home page so that Google doesn't have to crawl too deeply. So really it is like that pyramid structure. You have your website homepage, then you have your blog, then you have your hub pages going off your blog, then you have all your spoke pages cascading down and all of them linking back up. That is the ideal way to structure your site so that Google knows how to index it. And then Ron, I've talked quite a bit about Knotch and our SEO content marketing strategy. I would love to give you the floor to talk a little bit more about what you guys do at Teradata.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. So I believe I have some Teradata colleagues on the line, so they'll probably be nodding their heads here. But the content marketing at Teradata is it's not static. And so what you'll see on this list, we do a lot with a lot of different departments. The SEO team is not in charge of content, but the SEO team is in charge of optimizing content. I believe every business is going to be different. Sometimes, at Intuit, I was managing SEO and all of the content development. So every company is going to be different. Every situation will be different. But here you'll see a long list of things that we're doing to tackle content. We have a technical SEO that we've hired on. A lot of people, are one-person SEO shop. Again, probably can't see your heads nodding, but can probably relate to that. But been afforded the luxury of having a technical SEO on my team. Always looking at content gap analysis. What are our competitors ranking for that we're not ranking for? What you find there is super critical for knowing what kind of content you should be creating. I'll show you an example here in a second. But the Content Hub, we launched the Data Trends Content Hub back at the end of June. Took 6 months to get from conception and even before that, right? I was talking about this in 2019. 2020 got the buy-off from the VP of Digital, the CMO, had to talk to a bunch of people on the brand team and get them involved, and bring them along the journey. But our Content Hub is really a great place to house a lot of this great, valuable SEO content. And I'll show you that example in a second. I'm not going to read through all of this list, but really, this is, it's not extensive, but it's we're doing a lot. We're thinking about content a lot. We have a content editor in chief. She's overseeing all of this from many different angles. It's about being in lockstep with her. And I think really bottom line on all of this, there are a number of things you can do, but if you think it's just about writing articles, that's a mistake and it's short-sighted. It's really about thinking globally, looking at the buyer's journeys, thinking about amplification of your content through social, and then testing and measuring, which I know Knotch does really well. So again, this is meant to just elicit the fact that this is always going. It's not one section over another. We have blog content going. We have Content Hub content going. We have glossary content going. We have brand content going. And so it's exciting if you're in the field of content and content marketing, because there's never a dull day here. Next slide, please. All right, so here is a screenshot of our data trends. I think we have to take a step back. Yes, we have SEO goals, but we also have reader goals and publisher goals. What is it that we wanted people to do? And really, as we developed this Content Hub, it was about getting our customers to consume our content. So whether that's a featured article with a giant hero image, as you see here, or if you go down the page a little bit, which you can't in the screenshot, you'd be able to see that we have secondary featured articles. We also have pulling in articles from our blog. We're also listing out our articles in text form. Some people don't like the flashy hero image, and they just want to see what the article titles are. And so at every step of the way, as we designed out this Content Hub, it was always about how do we get people to consume our content. So that's that. And also think about the Content Hub as an aggregation of different content types. It's not just articles. We have videos that we also integrate into this experience. So somebody, not everybody wants to read an article. Some people want to watch a video. Next slide, please. And then when you get to the actual article, right, this is really what Google would actually rank. It's a lot of what you heard from Matt earlier. It's about a catchy headline. It's about having keywords in your headline, like big data. But then there's you have all of those tricks, but there's also a business application here too. You have shareable widgets right to the right-hand side here of our article. And it's about never losing sight about what is that next step that we want our customers to take. So here below the shareable widgets, you see that there is a scrollable or crawlable CTA. It scrolls down the page with you. And so yes, we do want SEO, we do want visitors to come to the page. At the same time, we never want to lose sight of the fact that we have a business to run, and we want to take them into that next experience. Here you'll see answers the virtual experience, where we want people to here take a deeper dive. And so, if you look at this article live, you'll also see at the bottom of the page we have live text-based CTAs as well at the bottom. So again, it's an immersive experience. It is about the content, but it's really also about sharing, and it's about the that next step that we want people to take in our journey. Next slide, please. I think that's it.
Yep. Okay. So time for questions. We know we've just thrown a ton of data at you, and I'm glad we got it in 45 so that we have a good 15 minutes now to answer all of our questions. So let me just open up this Q&A module and see where it appears. And I'm not seeing where it appears. So let me try something real quick. Here we go. Okay. So I'll try to go from the earliest to the most recent. And I believe it starts with this one that came in. Do these go in chronological order? Let's see. Okay, I'll just go from the top. If a piece of content is ranking in top results, does it make sense to continue creating related content that links to and from that high ranking piece? I believe it would help all of the pieces rank higher, but want to know your thoughts. Thank you. So let me give it some thought. If a piece of content is ranking in top results, does it make sense to leave that out? So, yeah, do you have?
I would say 100%.
Yeah.
On that, yeah, you can leverage a good thing, and it's I'd say be careful about passing link juice from that page that's ranking well to other pages. So I'd worry about the interlinking, but certainly you should have some spokes or some spin-offs.
Absolutely. Next question, should older expired posts be redirected to a newer post or simply removed? I have heard removing the post negatively impacts SEO for the organization. Thanks. So I would say it depends. So we've had some older posts that we've set up 301 redirects for to posts that were more SEO optimized. So I would say, like, if you have a post that is ranking or that has some link juice, and you've created what you think is a newer, better post, or you've revised it and it lives somewhere else on your site, setting up a 301 redirect can help it. I have also heard that removing a post negatively impacts SEO for the organization. If it's ranking and then you just out and out delete it, that could have a negative impact. I have done that for some old content that I didn't think was helpful anymore. But I would just be careful if it's indexed, if it has some link juice, if other websites are pointing to it, it could have a negative impact. I don't know if Ron, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I completely agree. And even if it's not ranking, all of it is building the relevancy of your site. So if you have a site like ours, which is Teradata, and we're talking about data and analytics, and we lop off 100 pages, for example, even if they're not ranking, they do raise up, the value of all of our other pages and increase the relevancy. So I think if you have to, yes, a redirect is always better. You will maintain the majority of those links. 95% of those links. There may be some drop off, but yeah, it's always better to redirect.
Absolutely. Next question comes from Julie. Do you use tools like Yoast SEO? Yes, I do personally. Our CMS currently actually lives on Webflow, which Yoast doesn't have a plugin for, but we also do have content that appears on WordPress, which Yoast works really well with. And also at my previous role, we created content on our blog through WordPress. I love Yoast for just making sure I'm hitting all those SEO techniques that we talked about, making sure my keyword density is good, making sure I have a good meta description that isn't too long, making sure I'm linking to the appropriate amount of websites, making sure that I'm not making errors, like I'm using the keyword and linking out to another website with the keyword, which is bad for SEO. Yoast keeps me in check on all of those things, and so I really appreciate it for that. Ron, do you use Yoast?
No, I have in the past, and I'd say, the whole idea of a focus keyword is great. So I love the fact that they do that. The red, yellow, and green lights, little less hot on, but yeah, it's especially for WordPress, it's a great plugin.
Absolutely. Okay, so next question, do you find content ranks better when you stagger the channels it's released on, or to release it all at the same time? Or do you release it all at the same time? So I would say, I think that it's better to have a steady stream of content, I think, from an SEO perspective, to show that you're constantly publishing new, fresh content. Helps from an SEO perspective. It lets people know your site is active. It gives Google new content to index on a regular basis. Having said that, if you're launching a brand new content hub, you don't want to launch a page with no content on it. You need some stuff to get started. I actually know that Fundera, my former employer, actually just launched a really great new website called justbusiness.com. And it's a new website. I think what they've done is migrate a lot of the blog content from their main site over there, but you come to the site and then there's all this great fresh content. So in terms of publishing it all at once, I think you should, that is a situation where you would do it. Otherwise, I personally would prefer to have a steady stream of fresh content coming out. Ron, anything to add there?
Well, yeah, I mean, there used to be this, you used to get actually SEO benefit if you dripped out. So if you did, you had 7 pieces and you dripped it out every day, I think that's less of an issue these days. But yeah, to your point, if you're launching a content hub, you want content in there, so hold it. As far as channels, I'm not sure if you meant email and social and those other channels. I think because SEO indexing takes so long, it takes a while for Google to find and index and rank, and the sooner you can go live with a piece of content, the better.
Absolutely. Next question is, SEMrush is a paid tool. Can you suggest some free SEO tools which are good and competitive? Thanks. So I had this on a slide previously, other tools you can use for keyword research and just for search engine marketing in general. Google Search Console can inform you of what keywords you currently rank for, and the search impressions you're getting on specific keywords, and also related keywords. The people ask function in Google search, which I think we're all familiar with, or if you're not, just type in a keyword you want to rank for in Google, and then you'll see this people ask function. And those questions are actually keywords, like how do I create SEO content, or what is SEO? That's a keyword that people obviously need the answer for. And if you can provide a piece of content that ranks well, your content will actually appear as the drop-down response for that question. Of course, we mentioned related searches at the bottom of the page. If you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you'll see other keywords related to that keyword that will help. Those are keywords you can use to inform strategy. And there's one other, if you want like a paid tool, or not a paid tool, but like a more traditional style keyword research tool, Neil Patel offers a product called Uber Suggest, which has a free version. I'm not going to say you can do too much with it, but you can do basic keyword research, understand search volume, get keyword options related to a primary keyword. So that's another one that is free, and that it could be helpful. Ron, anything else to add?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one that tool can be free today, and then all of a sudden it's a limited view tomorrow, and it's a hard thing to keep on top of. But Uber Suggest is a great one. I love Answer the Public.
Yeah.
It does a great job of, you put in a word and it'll give you literally hundreds of search variations of that word. And then let's not forget about Google Keyword Planner.
Yeah.
You don't have to advertise in Google ads, but you do have to. There's a way you can bypass the system if you haven't set up an account. Just search for that online. Just how do you bypass that? But Keyword Planner is amazing from the standpoint of getting access to all of Google information.
Absolutely. The next question, what is the best practice approach to combine Google plus YouTube SEO for your written content? I'll be honest, I'm a little bit out of my depth on this one. I'm not overly familiar with Google plus. I know quite a bit about YouTube SEO and how YouTube content can help you improve your editorial SEO visibility. Ron, do you have any experience with Google plus?
Not sure I understand the question, to be honest, but if Google Plus is no longer alive, so if we're talking about the social network, then so not sure what the question is, but if, yeah.
I don't think they mean Google Plus. I think they mean Google and YouTube SEO.
Google and SEO.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Google and YouTube SEO if you're written content. Yes, I can actually speak to this. So at Fundera, my previous employer, I was in charge of our video content marketing strategy. And obviously YouTube is a very effective technique for search engine optimization, not only because embedding video content in your blog content, can help it from an SEO standpoint and make your content more authentic and unique, but also because YouTube is the second largest search engine on the planet, which is also owned by Google. And so people very often go to Google, especially younger people, who want a visual guide. And a lot of things do lend themselves to a visual guide: how to tie a bow tie, how to change a tire. Those are keywords that have that if you type into Google search, a video snippet result will come. So Google is using the practice of creating video content as a top search result in general search. There are Google keyword research tools. I'm thinking right now about the one we used, TubeBuddy. Yeah, we use TubeBuddy, and it is a free tool. It's a plugin you can plug into YouTube, and it allows you to do YouTube keyword research. And through that, you can find keywords to create video content around. What I used to do was find those keywords and then write a script, and then literally film myself with a teleprompter app on my iPhone, explaining the concept in a more colloquial form. So, repurposing a blog post as a video and explaining it in more like layman's terms, maybe like how I'm doing it right now. And then editing that, uploading it to YouTube. And then there are some YouTube SEO best practices you can use. So, Google gives you the opportunity to link out to articles during the video. It only gives you like 5 chances though to link out to an article, but that can help you drive traffic back to your website. Also the description, including a keyword in the description. I like to include those, like if you include like a minute in the video or like a timestamp in the video, it will jump to that point in the video. Having tags, having a nice looking thumbnail, those are all things that you can do for YouTube SEO. And then if you create a really good piece of YouTube content, it will rank in Google search. I actually think I have a video or two that ranks highly at the top of Google search for a video I created. Also, YouTube SEO could be a webinar in and of itself. And so, this is something that we could definitely do in the future. But I hope that was helpful. I don't know if Ron, you wanted to add anything there.
Yeah, I think if the intent of the question, how do you combine keyword research? I would say not to. I'd say treat each one separately. So optimize for Google search and then optimize YouTube for video. If you're lucky and you get the benefit of having a video rank in Google, that's great. But you should be looking to rank in YouTube.
Yep. All right, we have like 2 minutes left. I'll try to give these a couple rapid fire ones. So do you have any recommendations for running SEO experiments, tools, strategies, ideas, secrets you can share? Ron, can I kick this one to you? I don't know if this is something you have more experience with.
Yeah, mostly paid tools. We'll have to take that one offline.
Okay, yeah. And also like whatever questions, I don't think we're gonna be able to get to every question, but email. I'll share my email. Feel free to email me. I'm happy to continue the conversation. I think we answered this. Do you find content ranks better? Those secondary keywords, should they match what you see in the related search results? Yes, I think that a lot of those related search results are related secondary keywords that you can use. Not all of them though. I think this goes back to the searcher intent question. So punching each if it's a pretty simple practice is punching each related search term into Google search and seeing if similar search results surface. That lets you know the searcher intent is the same. If different search results surface, then that it's a different article or a different searcher intent. Ron, anything to add there?
Yeah, it should just be what are you trying to write about? So to me, the secondary keyword could be about whatever you want to, doesn't necessarily have to be related from my perspective. You could have a completely different take on a subject and your secondary keyword may be very, very different. So let your content dictate.
All right, one more question and then I'll save these other questions and we'll try to answer them or I will email me. I'll again provide my email, and I'll do my best to answer them. As a writer, I just write. If I want to incorporate SEO, do I use certain keywords more, place them in certain sequence, or is there a set of rules to follow? Hopefully this presentation has just provided you with some of the answers you need to that question. Again, using highly trafficked keywords and weaving them in organically to your article helps. In terms of a sequence, no. I would say, have your primary keyword in there a handful of times, and then any secondary keywords in there at least once. I would say those are two best practices. And then also we'll share the deck with you on those other on-page optimization best practices.
There's keyword prominence, so higher up on the page, the better, and then proximity. Keep them close to each other.
Okay, good to know. Okay, so I will, in the interest of everyone's time, I'm sure we're all very busy. I'm gonna put a bow tie on this. I just want to touch on a couple things, and please email me your questions. So shameless plug, Knotch is a content intelligence platform. As I mentioned, we help you plan, measure, and optimize your content marketing strategy. We'll give you all of those important metrics you need to gauge the effectiveness of your SEO content, whether that be bounce rate, time on page, how people are finding your content, et cetera, et cetera. We also recently launched a new product called Blueprint. Blueprint is a competitive content intelligence platform. So if you're looking to understand the content strategy of your competitors, you can use Blueprint to understand the keywords they're targeting, the publishers they're using, the formats they're publishing content in, social engagement, yada, yada, yada. And then Ron, please tell us a little bit more about Teradata for those interested.
Yeah, so we're an enterprise data analytics company. Really all about, we're empowering the Fortune 500. We are the data analytics behind the scenes. And so come find us at teradata.com and find out more.
Great. And also, like I said, I'll share the deck with you. I included some links out to additional resources that I think might help you continue your SEO education. Also, let me just share my email with everyone who's interested. It's Matt, M-A-T-T .Speiser, that's S-P-E-I SER at Knotch.com. I am more than happy to answer any additional questions. I'm an SEO nerd, so please send them my way. I apologize for not being able to get to every question, but I'm happy there were so many. And last but not least, we are hosting a conference next week, a one-day conference called The Future of Content, where we'll be speaking with content marketing leaders about what they see in the coming months and years in terms of the content marketing landscape. We'll have some great CMOs, heads of content from a lot of enterprise brands. If you would like to register, just go to knotch.com/future. And that's it. I really hope you guys found this useful. Ron, thank you so much for joining. And yeah, shoot me those questions if you have any more. Otherwise, have a good day. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt.